Hello everybody, so this is going to be a monitor review of the MSI MAG271QPX, not to be confused with the other model that is the 1440p 360Hz 27-inch MSI QRX. So those are two different monitors. This is the more cut down one. I was able to get this monitor for $750 off of Newegg. You can also get this on Amazon right now. I haven't seen any stock details or updates on that, but that would be the place to get this. So, talking about the specs, this is a Samsung QD OLED monitor. So, let me shine a light on this. You can see the way those pixels kind of have that green, orange, not orange, but sort of this maroon, dark red color. So that is the trademark of the QD OLED. You have the purple-green fringing on the text. So for text, I would not actually recommend this monitor if you're doing productivity work. If you're buying this, dude, you got to be playing games, because that's where the strength of this monitor lies. I can sort of tilt it towards the camera here. And speaking of tilt, this can tilt kind of side to side. I haven't tested like the full tilt mechanism, but going down all the way, you can actually, let me move my camera here. You can actually get quite low. I don't know if you could see that, but the distance between, my fingers and the base of the monitor, it's not, there's not a lot of space there, man. So I actually found that this is way too low for me, just based off my desk height. So I bring it all the way up. And you can see you do get a good bit of height there. Ideally, yes, you should be able to get more, but that is where you would use a wall mount to get up even higher. So I found for me, tilting this panel a little bit towards a positive direction so I could see it that way is perfect. Obviously, you have the tilt, so just keep that level when you're gaming. So, talking about this monitor for gaming, I do enjoy it. I think that it is a pretty big step up from my old 1080p 360Hz Alienware 2521H, whatever it's called, and I have this hooked up right now. This is just the power in the back, and then over here are the ports. So I believe you've got a couple of USB, HDMI, and DisplayPort 1.4a. Yeah, and the text, I would actually say that it is much better than the WOLED LG panel, the WOLED. When I went to, I'm local to a micro center. When I went to the micro center and they had one of those LG OLEDs on display, I could not believe how bad it was with the text. I was like totally blown away. I'm like, dude, why would you even buy this thing? Now, they might not have set it up properly, and that would have caused the text to be really, really junk. But I doubt that, and I think that that panel was just so bad for text clarity. The text clarity on this monitor is actually pretty good. I mean, I don't know if you guys would be able to see this, but on the side here, I do see a little bit of pink fringing on the bottom and green on the top. If I focus on the monitor here, let's see. Yeah, I'm not having any luck with that. When I was gaming, I go into the OSD, and under this night vision thing, this is essentially your black booster, and this is what allows games to be playable for esports. I got a very, very bad headache playing with this. I was playing a couple games of Overwatch. After the first game, I was like, wow, I rubbed my eyes. I have never had to do that on a monitor before, except for this one. So what I was able to do to combat that is I went into the night vision. I turned this all the way up to strongest, and as you can see on the camera, the blacks became more washed out. You had the gray level rise, and I can go back all the way to off, and you can see, yes, you do get the deep blacks with the glossy panel, which is huge. You can also go to normal, sort of find your sweet spot for that. I found that just using the strongest setting when I was playing Overwatch gave me the best results. I was still able to aim and all that sort of stuff, so that was cool. When I was playing single player games, I played Red Dead Story, I also played GTA Story. I was having a better experience turning the night vision setting all the way down. And I found this mode to be more comfortable when I was browsing the internet, watching YouTube videos, because you do get those deeper blacks and the higher contrast ratio. But I would recommend, if you are playing an esports game, wait out for the 500 hertz monitors, because I think that the 1440p 480 hertz or the 500 hertz mini LED from, I believe also that's coming from MSI. I would wait for those if you're trying to get the absolute best esports experience. I do think though that it's definitely up there. The 360 hertz OLED looks very good. And one of the reasons I got this was because I do not have a 4090 maxed out rig 14900 KS. I don't have that yet. And I don't plan on buying it because honestly, I'm not trying to waste money, especially if the 50 series graphics cards are coming out. So who is this monitor for? I would say this monitor is for people who have like 3070, 3070 Ti, 3080, something in that range. You could go with an Intel or an AMD CPU and it would work just fine with this. But anyways, yeah. So going between single player games, you just crank up the strongest. You set the game mode to the strongest when you want to play esports, and you turn it off for everything else. So to be competitive in esports, I would say this gets you about 95% of the way there. There are some blue light modes, low blue light. I don't really mess with those. I kind of like the default experience that it already gives you. I've already gone through some of these settings. I did not like it. And I will not comment on HDR because I do not use HDR nor have any games to play with it. But talking about the brightness, this panel is pretty dim. You are going to want to play in a well-lit area, a well-lit room, having adequate light. Make sure that your windows are not beaming on this thing because, as you can see, the purple sort of haze comes up. That's just because of this QD OLED. All right, so if you get rid of that, you get the blacks back. You could turn off the lights if you're a degenerate living in mom's basement, right? So going back over here, I wouldn't mess with any of these settings. I think default is just fine. One of the main selling points of this is that it is a glossy QD OLED. The thing about those is they don't have that matte grainy film. On most IPS monitors I've had, they have all had this like really, really bad haze on them, with the exception of a couple which have actually been like decent or like semi-matte, if you want to call it that. But this is truly glossy, so you're not getting any haze coming out of the monitor unless you shine light directly at it. So playing a well-lit room, I wouldn't worry about the OLED caret that much. Where is it? Yeah, right here. Just keep these on the normal settings for pixel shift and you should be good to go. You also have that 3-year warranty with this monitor. So I would actually say that if you're trying to look for a high-end monitor, this is the one. That way you won't need a 4090 to max out your 4K 240 hertz OLEDs. And this is actually going to be easier to run and in my opinion will look much smoother because the difference between 240 hertz and 360 hertz in my opinion is pretty noticeable. Now, I want to show you guys. With this monitor, you have these very slim bezels here. I actually like that a lot. And then the graphene heatsink, which I can actually feel heat coming out of it. So that means it's doing its job. The fans do start to kick on a little bit if your screen is all white. But my screen right here, you can see this is OBS open right here. This isn't very bright. Yeah, the black side over here is very, very dark. And that's about it. So I would say that only buy this if you have the money because obviously that's pretty expensive, man. $750 for a monitor. But out of all of the monitors that are currently available, this is definitely the steal because it's the cheapest. That's about it. See you guys.